Life. Today is Tuesday, March 18th, and we got a good show for you. Wacky Waco in the books, Yuli. And you, my friend, you got some explaining to do because you almost had an insane round.
Yeah, we started off good the first round, honestly.
And then you forgot how to play disc golf the last two holes.
Very true. Very, very true.
Waco has a way of doing that to you for sure. Really fun episode for you guys tonight. Really excited about it. We're going to have the winner, Adam, come on, who little controversy. Some people trying to spin up a little controversy with the win. So we'll talk all about that. And then we have Jake Monn, a new guest for the first time joining us tonight on Tour Life. He had an insane final round that I don't think got enough roses really on the coverage. I think it was like a quick, little highlight, that round is nutty out at Waco. So he'll come on. We'll talk to him, talk about maybe some of his past injuries, how he's been dealing with that. Really, really cool, interesting guy. So excited to have him on the pod. But before we get into all that, Yuli, how's it going, brother?
It's going good. Made it to Austin. I've gotten 3 practice rounds in already.
When did you get down there?
Monday. It's only an hour and a half or whatever from Waco. So we got one in yesterday, and then we filmed practice round with Jomez this morning. Sweet guests on there, so look for that to drop on Thursday. We had Adam and AB as guests.
Nice.
Which was awesome. And then I went over to the what is it? Harry Myers? Is that no,
Sprinkle Valley, isn't it? Or is that just FPO?
We played that for the practice round. What's the other course? The one we play.
Harry Pont.
No.
Pinnock.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. There it is. Pinnock.
And I say I played a practice round, but I played like 6 holes. It took me an hour and a half. It was so windy, and then I walked the rest of the course because it wasn't really even playable. I'm not lying.
I had an 8 by 400 meter workout today, and I looked outside, and the flags were just going, and I was just thinking in my head, like, if I go to the track, it's going to be a nightmare to try to run this workout. So I unfortunately did the thing that no one wants to do, which I ran the workout on my treadmill. And that also sucked heavily.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Heavily sucked. But I got it in. But yeah, I mean, it looked windy out there. If you got the same winds that we had up here.
Oh, we did.
It's like, I don't know why I don't know what's the use of practicing it.
Yeah, I walked most of it because I'm like, it's not going to be like this. If it was going to be windy the whole week, of course I'll practice it. But it was just like the holes were playing 900 feet. You know what I'm saying? And I already played a practice round. I was already beat. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'll just walk the rest of the course.
You don't want your disc flying all over the place and all that stuff. I saw that one hole. Is it, what is it now? Hole 2 or 3 where you're going under the bridge?
Yep.
That's a cool looking shot. I think I saw Parker Welk post something about that. That looked like a fun little shot.
Yeah, it is cool. And then hole 1's an island now, like a 350 island, kind of straight off in front of you, which is a really tough starting hole. And there's probably like 6 or 7 changes, I'm not going to lie, on the course. And I think they made it a lot better, a lot harder.
What would you think of Sprinkle Valley?
I mean, I kind of like it a lot. It's heavily wooded, lots of trees, chip shots. You really have to like manage that course well. It has a lot of teeth. If you're off, you could shoot over par.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on, you can go really low. So I think that place we're going to see a big scale from people playing really good and being on, and then other people playing just horrible, or vice versa as far as what you do, because you play 2 rounds there, the first 2 rounds. So you could get off to a hot start and then a couple tree kicks. Like if you get off the fairway there, it's impossible to go forward.
Yeah, a little like Waco, Waco, a couple of bad shots here and there. That could be round killers for you out on the course. Did they have long tees already in place for you guys for Sprinkle Valley, or did they put those in? Do you know?
Oh, no clue. This is the first time I've ever seen the track. So
Okay, because I was
I
trying.
just
It's
played.
it's hard to tell because FPOF has played there before. It's hard to tell on coverage on whether or not they were playing like up tees and there was tees that were farther back that existed, or if they implemented new tees knowing that MPO was going to come in. But yeah, I think the two courses are going to suit themselves very nicely from seeing coverage from Sprinkle and you know Harvey Pinnock is a pretty I don't know they've definitely have changed it since the first year we were there, right?
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
the first year was a completely different animal than what it is right now. So I'm interested to kind of see what the changes they have in store coming up. And it
They
looks like
lengthened it and
it,
they took some OB away and added some OB, but they definitely lengthened it in a good way. It's not like long
okay.
holes. It was kind of like shorter track, I think,
Hmm.
for the tour. Um like for example, the hole that everybody was going over and one and trying to get the eagle with the ditch.
Yep.
They move that tee back and right, and so now you have to throw it like over to the right, kind of where people were laying up with their sidearms, and then going over, and they move the pin back left about, I would say, 80 to 90 feet. So
Oh,
it's a true
interesting.
par four now.
Oh, and because I think last year they made that a par three.
Oh, maybe that's right.
You
Yeah.
remember last year? Yeah, I think they only had that as a par five that one year, and then the next year they threw the basket over into the trees on the left, just over
Hmm.
the ditch, made that into a par three. But and it looks like Alex from our chat says that, or not Alex, sorry, Brad from our chat says they've been adding new tees and basket locations throughout the off season at
Okay.
Sprinkle Valley.
Okay.
So it seems like they were planning on. The Pro Tour coming there for MPO, and yeah, I think
Yeah,
they do great work there. They do a really good job.
I think a lot of the things that they've done is a little different too. I think they listen to some good feedback. Like, so you play that one over the ditch, and then the next one's that really tight par four that had OB left and right,
Yeah.
and they took the OB completely away.
Okay.
So now you can kind of just go after it. Just the Mando left is all they have there. Two Mandos going left, and now you can kind of go after that. And I think that's a great change because you're still going to get punished for people playing more aggressive and hitting early, but there was a lot of fluky kicks happening
I
and
think
people taking big numbers where they didn't really deserve it.
I think in the woods, more Mandos are better than more OB
Agreed.
because, if you miss your line, you should be stroked. If you hit a tree and get a terrible kick versus someone else hitting a tree and dropping down, like one person gets an advantage, one person gets a disadvantage. Where if you both miss your Mando, it doesn't really matter with the tree kick. So
Yeah.
hopefully, more courses in the woods go that direction versus the flukiness of the OB. We are going to have Adam join us, I believe, in about 15 minutes or so. And then we'll have Jake Monn join us at the top of the hour. But yeah, Yuli, go run through a little bit of your week at WACO because, you were up pretty high. I mean, you did have a good finish. It wasn't like you didn't play well, but there was a moment where you were one of the favorites to win the tournament. You had a really, really good round going. Then obviously you kind of puttered out a little bit at the end, but like, walk me through your week at Waco.
It was actually a tough week, Brody. I ended up getting some bad news the day of the tournament that I lost my nephew.
Mm,
And so it was a really emotional round, and I almost thought about not playing and just going home. I ended up sticking it out and playing the round, and I got the first seven, and it was wild. I was like literally in tears every other hole. But it was enjoyable because I felt like I was talking to my nephew a little bit through that stretch, and we were just getting birdies. But it was tough, and I just ran out of energy at the end, and
mm.
17 and 18 are tough anyway. Like, I'm not going over on 18, and 17 I just like threw kind of a lazy shot that got me a bogey. It really wasn't like crazy mistakes. I misread the win on 18. So all in all, it was a really good round.
Great round.
Um, and then a lot of the same the next round. Uh, it was yeah, it was tough to kind of stay focused, but I was proud
Is
of
it kind of
myself
like an
for
emotional dump almost in round
it.
two,
It
having to fight
is
all that in that first round?
for sure. And then, it didn't get any better as far as like your grief and stuff going into round two. And it was just like very draining, no sleep, a lot of talking to my family and stuff. But I felt like I played good. I finished solid that round actually. I was only like one under going in the last 5 holes. I ended up shooting a 4 under, which I felt like was pretty good. It was windier the second round than the first round.
Hmm.
And then the final round, it was so windy the first round that the final round just seemed like you had to birdie every hole. So it wasn't like a crazy thing. And I've been playing really good too. I've been hitting my lines and I've been putting really well. Um, and it was funny, I shoot 10 under the final round, which typically would be a pretty good round. I mean, back when, Macbeth shot 18, that's a 13 under par.
Yep.
And I moved up 2 spots. That's it. So the scores were super tight and you had to really get every hole. I think everybody was stuck in between that 7 to 11 under place, and almost everybody shot that. So uh, I was happy to get the week over with. I was definitely happy with my finish, but all in all, it's a weekend I'm willing to forget for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And everyone from chat and everything is sending, thoughts and prayers to your family. There is something that they can do to support or help support your sister, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So we have a small GoFundMe going on right now, and I've posted that a few times. I'm gonna post that right after this podcast. And it is just they're going to Colorado to get him and bring him back to Arizona, which is pretty financially expensive
For
to,
sure.
ship somebody back like that. And yeah, if you could send some help their way, it'd be huge. And, any type of help to relieve some stress that they're going to be going through would be awesome.
Yes.
And obviously prayers and good vibes that way are huge.
Yeah, so make sure you guys after the podcast, make sure you head over to Yuli's social pages, and if you would be so kind to show some support, whether it's just some text, if that's all you can do, but if you're able to financially help as well, that would greatly be appreciated. So
Um,
um,
but yeah, in closing, I was really happy with the way that I finished the tournament. I mean, a 19th place for me these days is pretty damn good. Felt in control of the shots, not necessarily the mental game, but I'm excited moving forward in the year for sure.
yeah, I mean, we're going to talk a little bit, I think maybe after Adam and Jake, about the course itself, because it is a massive contrast to all the other courses we play on tour. It's the shortest course we play on tour. There's a ton of holes that are just almost jump puttable, if you will. And so that big contrast between the two, I think it brings out a lot of people saying like, we need to change this, we need to do all this. And it's, I think what we see and what we'll always will see at courses like this are close finishes, because what ends up happening is you end up making it to where a ton of people can shoot low at a course like this. A ton of people kind of get bunched up, and so you're always going to have that. And then on top of that too, I think what works for this course is because one of the toughest holes is 17, and 18 is a very tough birdie and can cause some big scores if you are going for the birdie. It makes it for a very interesting finish down the stretch, because it's not a birdie or par kind of holes down the stretch. So it does have a little bit of an interesting contrast there, but it's really easy to have finishes that are super close like this. You just make courses easy to score, have a bunch of holes that don't necessarily aren't separators, right? Because there's a bunch of holes out there that you're either going to par or birdie. And what ends up happening is, of course, yeah, some people are going to have their off weeks, and we'll see that, and they won't shoot well out there, of course. But if you take, for example, like I'm just going to do the extreme. If you take the Pro Tour and you go to like my local course, Dash's track, which is a 18-hole par 3 course. The longest hole I think is like 340 feet. I'll go out there. I'll always shoot double digits. And normally I shoot between like 12 and 16 under. What ends up happening is a lot of people are going to shoot 12 and 16 under. And what Yuli just said is it makes it really, really tough if you have like a bad round or if something doesn't go right and then you absolutely shred. It's not really shredding because the score separation is so small to the entire field, Yuli. That's what we're talking about, right? Like you would have to, I mean, would Jake, do we know what Jake Monn shot up? Because how many spots he shot up? Do we know?
I don't know exactly. I think we could ask him that when he comes on. He'll know. But it was a good bit. It was enough to get him back into the cash, and I know he was well out of the cash. So
okay, so yeah, if you're super far down the leaderboard, then
yeah,
for sure. But like you said, you have a fire round, and you look at the leaderboard, and you're like, man, I only went up 2 spots. And it's because, I mean, at a certain point, I think the leaderboard, I want to say, went from like 7th and then it was like tied for 22nd or something because there was like 20 people that were all at that big chunk, which you normally don't really see at the top of leaderboards.
For example, Jake at one point in the round, he's teeing off really early and he was in 3rd place. And he dropped all the way down to 20, maybe 30.
So they're saying 26. He went up 34 spots, shooting the course record. He went up 34 spots to 26. So
that's a really good jump. But yeah, it's a weird thing. I know there's a place for something like that on the tour, and I hope they don't get rid of it because it's a different mental grind than other places. Like you can't make a mistake. I like that. I like the fact that you have to shoot 10 under par to move up 2 spots. And then, but the thing is, if you shoot 14 and you're in the mix, you could win the tournament and be in the mix for the win. So that's a different mental grind than your typical get me a couple pars, kind of turtle around the course, get a few birdies, shoot 6 under, and you're going to move up more spots because of how difficult a lot of these courses are. I think there's a place for it, and I hope they don't get rid of it.
I think the essence of the course, I would love a couple things that I think they definitely could look at to improve is it's 8 par 3s and there's no par 5s. So, it's almost 50-50 3s and 4s. So a lot of par 3s out there that, again, limits the amount of separation because you're limiting the amount of throws you have to execute, right? The more throws you have to execute, the more separation there's just going to be. The less throws you have to execute, the less separation there's going to be because you literally just can't pull away as much, right? And the big one here for me is the par 4s, Yuli. There's only one hole that you actually have to throw a certain distance off the tee shot, off the tee of a par 4 to actually birdie. I think you can maybe make the argument that 12 is in there too. But like 12, you could just really like pitch a shot down to the little gully and be able to throw an incredible shot.
Sure.
17 is the only one that if you do not get a certain distance off the tee, we saw Calvin, right? He hit something early, got short, wasn't around the corner. But like every other par 4, which there's, I believe, 10 of them out there, you could theoretically throw a putter off, just like a 250-foot putter shot, and make a birdie there. And so I think that is something that's maybe they can look at. I don't know what you need to do to change that because I don't want them to necessarily change the essence of the course because I really do like it. It's way different than all the other courses that are played on tour. But I think that's a big one, right? Of where there's not too many demanding, and by that demanding, I mean like distance demanding par 4 shots. A lot of them are just placement, like 200 to 350 foot placement par 4 shots.
For sure. And I think the coolest part about this whole course, especially watching coverage and commentating on it, is the excitement of coming down the stretch
Yeah, it's one
and
of the best
having
stretches.
these guys have the opportunity to get eagle on like three of the last six holes. So like
Yeah.
AB's way down, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, if he gets three eagles, which he can totally do, all of a sudden he's your winner. You
I
know what I mean?
think
It gives
Colton
an
got
oppor
two. I think Colton got two of those three when he
He
won.
did. He did. And so it
Yeah.
gives people the opportunity to really make up some ground when other people are playing safe, which is something we don't have a lot on tour. We don't have those risk reward type opportunities to where it just I don't think it should be all the time, but sometimes having those holes in a row, it kind of brings the whole tournament back into play, you know?
Oh, agreed. And another thing that, again, not really taking the essence away from the course, but adding in a little bit more, or I guess reducing a little bit more of the flukiness. Looking back at coverage, I think if you go and look at hole 8, that little dinky par 3, that's a little putter turnover shot, right? 213 feet. Paul Macbeth plays that shot where he tries to land it short of the basket, considerably short of the basket, and like slides it up. And a lot of people
Hmm.
do, right? Speed control. They try to slide it up there. Calvin did the same exact shot as Paul on that hole. And his, like, I think
Doug.
probably coming down, yeah, maybe caught like a little turf duff, or it caught something and didn't get the same slide. So two shots that were pretty much identical that they both executed the way they wanted to, got completely different results, right? And what I would do, again, this is like a little bit tougher because it's on the maintenance side, but a way that you can do to like reduce that, and something that I think a lot of courses could implement into their strategy for making holes a little bit more challenging without gimmicky, is length of grass. So we see a lot of times players, when they throw lower than they want to, they'll still get like a crazy skip, right? It'll still go forward. Like, imagine how hard that hole, because that hole is kind of tricky. Like, it's not an easy shot for being 213 feet. But imagine Yuli outside of like 40 feet, you had like 3 feet of grass, all thick right in there. So now for you to get close to the basket, you got to get that perfect speed control over the tall grass and having it die down versus
Without going off the cliff right there
yes,
too.
versus a lot of other people are just throwing full shots into the ground and letting the ground slow it down. Now you got to actually have touch to get it up and over. So I think small little things like that. Same thing on the par 4 hole coming out of the woods. I think it's 7, I believe. Uh, Imagine the that hole. Imagine coming out of the little wooded stretch. Imagine coming out if that was all tall grass as well. Now you have guys, if they're throwing shots that get low, they're not still getting that nice forward skip. They're like digging in there and they're losing all their distance. So a small minor change that you could do if it was, hey, we're just going to not cut this grass for 3 or 4 weeks. We're going to let this thing grow out. And I think that could definitely help. Now, obviously, it comes back to maintenance, right? Is that even feasible? Is that even possible? I don't know. But
They
those
can do it with
are,
like railroad ties too,
we've
or
seen
something.
that, hay bales. We've seen stuff like that where it is making sure that you have to try to get up and over an obstacle versus like slamming it into the ground, which again, that takes away the touch of having to throw some of these shots. So I think hole 5, that would be a great one for hole 5 too, because most people's play on hole 5 is just throwing a flat shot straight into the hill.
Yeah.
Imagine if that shot was taken away by something, right? Some barrier or something prohibited you. Now you have to throw a touchy shot over. That hole all of a sudden becomes a lot harder without changing all that much. That's those would be the changes that I would like to see the course, not so much let's just blow it up and restart.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, little tiny intricate details can make the course 3-4 strokes harder.
Yeah. But I do like it because it is a course that it's a different it's a different vibe. If you start off bad, if you have a bad first round, you're not going to win the tournament.
Yep.
So that does suck. I get it. There's not really a way of you battling back, but like you said, it's a different mental game because everyone knows going in, you have to ball out. You have to average double digits basically to win this tournament every year.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're through 8 holes and you're 1 under, you're thinking in your head, holy crap, I need to like start going. So it is a different mental test than like maybe a little bit more of a challenging course. But I like
Agreed.
it. I like it. And I think it fits well early in the season. Guys not having to throw full shots. It's probably also nice for the body too, just being able to go out there and practice and not feel like, holy cow. Next year, I do think they're going back to the golf course though.
Yeah.
So yeah. Someone just said Simon shot 5 down first round and almost went to a playoff. Yeah. No, I mean, if you shoot 5 under, that's still a good score out there. What I'm talking about is the guys, it's really easy to go out there and feel like you didn't play that bad and shoot even par at Waco. And if you shoot even par, you're now having to shoot 15 under back-to-back rounds, which is not happening. Five under, you're still in the mix. So, all right. I think we are just waiting for Adam to pop on at some point.
I'm going to text him real quick.
Oh, there he is. All right. Let's see how this goes. All right, we have the champion, Waco champion, Adam, joining Tour Life once again. Adam, how's it going, brother? Congratulations.
Thank you. It's going well.
Let me, before we get into this, guys, how's the audio? I'm going to try to adjust your audio to match ours because last time we had an interview, it was not good and people got really mad at me. So, Adam, go ahead and talk for a little bit.
What's going on? Can
Perfect.
you hear me? Perfect.
Oh, smooth transition. Everyone's saying great transition. Okay.
Nice.
If they start yelling at me on the audio side, I'll change it. But as of right now, I think we're good. Okay. Adam, first and foremost, congratulations. The first thing I got to say, 4 wins on tour. I think you might be like the sneakiest 4-win guy on tour. Do you feel that way?
Kinda. When you space them out every other year, it kind of feels that way.
Like 4 wins on tour is a crap ton. There's not a lot of people that have 4 wins on tour.
Yeah, every time I win, it's like, when's the next one going to happen? So I hope it happens a little sooner than a year and a half.
Yeah, that's how long the last one was?
Yeah, roughly. I mean, somewhere midsummer, June, and I think Portland was June of 2023. So yeah,
Gotcha.
It's even maybe more than a year and a half.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, so I guess the first question I have is just what were the thoughts going into the final round, a course that you've had a lot of success on, but you've never been able to like get it done. So what were the thoughts? Anything different going into this final round?
Not really. The wind was down, so I knew I had to capitalize on as many birdies as possible. I wanted to have a hot start just so I could get that confidence and not have a slow start and have to bring it back. I was 3 for 3, had the bogey on 4, and then kind of picked up the pace after that. But not really. Just wanted to attack, and I was feeling really confident all week. I knew I wasn't going to have too many blow-ups or anything, crazy happen. But yeah, I just wanted to attack and shoot a hot round and see if
Did you have a number in mind or anything of that you thought you had to get to before the round started?
I was thinking like 12, 13, just with conditions.
Okay.
Being so calm after, 2 pretty windy days.
Yeah, it was a little surprising that no one in the top final card really popped off that final round. But it did seem like Waco being Waco, you all ended up having some sort of trip up that's easy can happen for you out there.
Yep.
I got a question real quick that that I think is relevant. What about, so you make lead card in Florida.
Yep.
And you don't play very well. Did that like sneak into your mind at all, like coming in, because then you're on the lead card again? Like, what is that like, especially not winning for a year and a half or whatever coming in? Were you still like, no, my time's coming, or was there a little like mental
Yeah, I just
strain?
think with Supreme Flight Open, I was just is the first event of the year. I didn't feel right that that second round when I stepped on a hole one. I just couldn't get into a groove. I just didn't mentally feel like I was there. So going into round two of Waco, I was on the lead card obviously, and I just wanted to not do what I did the weekend before that. And I'm very happy how I handled everything. Played well. Obviously, that course favors me a little bit more than Supreme Flight. It's a little bit more of a difficult course. But yeah, I just wanted to capitalize and not, I saw some comments out there saying, Hamas is a choker. I just wanted to prove everyone wrong and make sure I stayed in it. So once I got through round two with a confident round, it was super windy. So, I shot 8 under, which was fine that day. I knew the next day was going to be a little bit easier and not as much pressure due to already playing well on the live and on a live camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about that a little bit on the podcast, me and Yuli, about just the way that disc golf is set up in the scoring. It's so much easier to just call someone that doesn't end up winning like a choke, like, oh, they choked it away, with just how the scoring works in disc golf. Where in other sports, when someone else plays a little bit better and they end up going and getting it, no one really says like, oh, that person choked it away. But with how, I guess, easy disc golf is with the scoring, if you have a lead going into the final round or going into the last 9 holes and you don't maintain it, a lot of people are just quick to jump on choke artists, when in fact, I don't know if that's necessarily the fairest way to describe someone. What were your thoughts on the Waco just doing 3 rounds at the Beast this year? Did you like the change?
Yeah, I liked it because last time we played that format was when I lost off the chase, or Kyle Klein beat me off the chase card in 2023. So I knew I had a good chance coming into the event. I liked how it was going to be set up, and I knew that if I could play at the top of my game, I should have a chance to win the tournament.
Yeah, Waco is definitely a course that I think favors people that have played it before and have played it well. We're going to talk a little bit about some FPO later, but a player that I was really excited to see play more tournaments this year was Silva on the FPO side. And this was her first year playing Waco. And she started, I think she shot even par, 1 under, and then 5 under. So she progressively got better as the tournament went on. And then I think she was 3 over par on holes 9 and 17, which when you play those holes more, you know where the misses are, you know what to. And so you can see a good player like Silva, especially in the woods, struggle on a course like Waco because you're playing it for the first time. And someone like yourself, you've had a lot of success here. You've got like that perfect zone for a couple of those forehand holes, and you can just dial in. So I'm sure you were probably happy to see that it was all 3 rounds there.
Yeah, definitely. And, playing a course for 6 years, kind of a veteran on that course at this point, you just feel comfortable. When you play a course a whole bunch, you just get comfortable. And, when I step on every tee, I'm not like scared of any of the gaps. I've played these holes 100 times, and it makes things a little bit easier.
So last year we kind of got all very surprised with the changes that they made. They took out hole 15. They moved, hole 16 this year to hole 15, and they put in a new hole 16 that we all hated, and we all said it was the worst hole ever. What were your thoughts on this year's changes to hole 15 and 16 that made the risk a lot higher going for those eagles on those 2 drivable par 4s?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was good to, put some OB. They were just honestly way too easy of holes, especially, I don't know if it's 14. Yes, 15. Hole 15, they made that little like square of like the, those power boxes, OB. I think that was good because the first 2 days, it actually played as one of the hardest holes on the course because of how strong the headwind was. I didn't play the hole very well. I think I played the hole like 2 over on the tournament, or like 1 over. Definitely wasn't under par. And then 16, they just made it so you couldn't just throw a 400 to 500 foot shot down there and pitch a 100-foot zone to the basket. They made it where you had to land and hit a landing zone and then shape a shot either right, backhand or sidearm into the green. And most days, or the windy days, Friday, Saturday, it was a ripping left to right wind. And I would like to throw the sidearm into that green, and I couldn't. I mean, you throw a sidearm into that crosswind, it's going to end up over the road. But yeah, I think the changes were good. I think getting rid of that, funky hole you said, the hole 16 was good. It was kind of fluky and it was too new. It wasn't broken in. But yeah, I think the changes were good. It made those holes a little bit harder and they scored a lot different. So I was happy with it.
For the people that were like negative towards those changes, I think what could really be utilized here, because again, FPO is playing the same tees as we are, and they're playing both those holes as par fours. Or does FPO play 15 as a 5? No, they can't. They play as
it's got to be a 4.
Yeah,
but honestly, that hole was pretty bad for the FPO field, from what I heard. It's like that headwind, they had to like lay up before they could actually go over the OB. That's what I was seeing, at least.
So yeah, I think obviously with the wind, this is where I think having multiple tee boxes and being able to adjust, because we all know the people that have played WACO, when that wind is in a headwind going into those last back 9 holes, it is a different course. It is a different course. So I would love for them to adjust tee pads. And for example, like the final round, the wind wasn't an issue. 15 and 16, there needs to be farther tee pads back. I don't know how you do it.
There's not enough room out there. I mean, people complain about those 2 holes, but there's really not much you can do. There's only so much land out there. It's, it kind of is what it is,
I think you could maybe tuck the baskets too. That would be an interesting 15 and 16.
You could do like different pin placements, put it closer to the road, closer to the fence, something like that. Put OB along the fence, not over it, something like that. I don't know.
Because both those baskets are generally right in the middle, right? And so like if you're playing those holes into a 20-mile-an-hour headwind, I don't think you got to change anything. Those holes are going to play tough. But if there's no wind or a tailwind, let's tuck those baskets, because I would love to see him be able to move the tee pads back. But like you're saying, one, you're literally going to be in the road, and then the other one, like it's super skinny to where I don't know if that makes sense at all. So maybe that's the solution there, is like tucking those baskets, making it a little bit tougher.
I think that could be good for disc golf in a hole, is just slight pin placement movements, not like moving it 80 feet to the left, just like 20 feet, tuck it a little closer, move the basket around the circle. I think that could be really beneficial.
I think it would be basket changes. I think the tee pad moving would be tough, because some people play extreme winds in the morning and some people play extreme winds in the afternoon. And
that's a good point. That's a good point.
And then you're going to get like a big discrepancy between who gets the good tee times. And I mean, you still do, but then it would be probably a little extra.
For sure.
So Gary just said hole 15 in 2022 and 2023, when I guess I believe it was playing as a par 3 back then.
Yeah.
There was 6 birdies back then. This year, with the new par, 166 birdies. So, I mean, it obviously is going to play easier with it being a par 4 with the OB. But I don't know. I thought the changes to both of the holes were good. And I think especially 16, they needed to do something, because so many people would just chuck it. And
they could even make that OB line like shorter on 16, where the second shot, you chip real short and then you have a longer shot into the green.
Oh, I don't hate that. Yeah.
I mean, and I don't think that's a good comparison, like 3 birdies to 100 and whatever birdies, because
the hole's
let's
different.
call it a par 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it that the hole's the exact same, just OB.
Yeah.
And so if you do like how many people 3'd it that year compared to this year, probably going to be more 3s then.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think too with the OB, I mean, because 15, there always was a little bit of risk, like in drama, when people are going for that shot, because oh man. But I think the big change here, and maybe why a lot of people didn't go for it, is when you would go OB right, you would get way up there on 15 and have like a jump putt to almost save your par, right?
Sure.
Where now, because they have that forced carry, if you go OB right, you're not advancing way up there. You still have a pretty tricky upshot. And we saw people in the final round mess up that upshot.
I did. Well, I didn't mess it up, but I went OB.
Yeah, that tee shot's not easy to lay up either. So, all right, let's walk through your round a little bit, because it was not a, hey, walk in the park, everything's going for me, super easy. You had a little bit of a roller coaster there. So let's talk about the first. I mean, you start the round perfectly, birdie, 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 exactly where you want to be going into the woods. you know, a couple of them loose shots on that first hole in the woods. What went through your head once you airball that par putt? Are you starting to spiral a little bit there, or what's going on?
Yeah. I was like on that slope back there, and I do that little like toe tap thing where I bring my feet together and I kind of bring the putter down, and I kind of lost my balance, and it just created my arm to go straight right. It definitely wasn't what I wanted to do in that situation, and it made me a little bit nervous to go forward. But the next hole, I drained that nice like 35 footer right outside the circle up the hill, like dead center, and then it kind of just like erased like that putt completely.
Are those putts like after you miss a putt like that and you have a putt similar distance or similar difficulty, if you will, is that almost like a momentum shift? Like if you miss that putt back to back, your round's going to be in shambles, versus if you make that putt, you can get right back on?
It can be. I was feeling confident enough to where I don't think, you know, if I were to miss two, I don't think I was going to miss two, but if I did, I don't know if it would have really changed.
Spiraled you?
You would have been cooked. You would have been cooked.
I mean, I would have lost the tournament.
Yeah, in hindsight, yeah, you would have lost the tournament. But yeah, you see some players that, you know, if they miss one early, they kind of get tentative and whatever. And it seems like your putt never really changes. It doesn't seem like you ever try to like, oh, I'm going to try to loft this one in because I just missed one. It seems like you kind of just have that same stroke no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I putt a little softer if it's elevated basket downhill. I think on hole 6, I putted a little bit softer, and yeah, it just depends on the putt. But if it's flat and there's nothing too much danger behind it, I'll putt it pretty firm.
All right, let's talk about hole 7. Big Germ, I think, said it best by saying that is potentially the best shot we've ever seen on coverage on that hole. For those that don't know, it's the par 4, kind of going out of the tunnel, and then it kind of curves right back. You kind of go down the hill and up the hill. Most people are like trying to throw like a flex forehand where it's just like getting out into the open, and then they're hoping it kind of fades back into and having them maybe a 30, 40-foot putt up the hill.
Just trying to make it into the bowl.
You got pin high. Your disc was like coming in basket height. Like, have you ever thrown that shot before in practice that well?
I actually eagled it in practice, but it wasn't on top of the stairs. It was like, I think it was like the 4th stair down, kind of off to the right.
Okay.
25, 30 footer. But no, I've never put it that close. So
the wind was down. Were you shocked a little bit when you got up there and saw where your disc was?
Yeah. I was like, okay, that's probably, you know, it's up there for a putt. We'll take it. And then right after everyone teed off, the live camera guy right next to me had the mic guy. He said, "Hey, you're 8 feet." And I'm like, no.
That's so nice. Now, was that your play all 3 rounds?
No, it was not. It was too windy to even attempt that play. With the disc, I had a flippy nuke. I mean, you try to throw it into the wind, it's not going to work.
Gotcha.
But I want to just basically erase that bogey stroke from hole 4.
Okay.
You know, I was feeling good. I just made 2 good putts for birdie, and I was like, this is the round. This is the point in the round. If I'm going to press and if I'm going to put any pressure, you know, on these guys, I need to execute this. And I had the box. I stepped up confident, and I just had a feeling that it was going to work out, and I absolutely piped it perfectly.
Yeah, Yuli, we were kind of talking about this, right? How there are certain holes out there that you can decide, hey, I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive here to try to get some strokes back. And I think that's the beauty of WACO is there's not too many, but there is a decent amount, and sometimes more than other courses, where you actually can change up your strategy to try to put a little bit more pressure on other people, where otherwise you're just kind of like, all right, I just got to keep playing the same way and hope other people mess up at this point, right? Let's go to hole 13 now. Any change of strategy there? We saw you go forehand right after Paul misses the Mando. Was that always the play to just be safe forehand off the tee there? Or was that maybe a change in strategy once you saw Paul maybe slip up a little bit?
No, that's my play. As long as the wind is favorable off that tee, I'm trying to throw that flex sidearm and get it around and just play for birdie. I don't really like my chances trying to throw a 550-foot, like super tight flex shot. As you saw, you know, Paul hit the early tree, AB hit the early tree. I think it's just a little bit too far for me to, you know, feel comfortable throwing that hard and attempting the eagle. Obviously, I think I had the back of the box at the time, so I saw the mistakes, and I was like, okay, if you just get this in the fairway and get a birdie, you're gaining. So I kind of just took the strokes while they're in front of me and didn't really want to play too aggressive there.
So walk me through hole 15, because I feel like at this point, Paul has made his mistake on 13. You got 2 strokes on him there. Then Paul misses the birdie putt on 14. So you got to be feeling like, hey, I'm in the driver's seat here. You
for
know, it's
sure.
basically me, Calvin, at this point, right? I think at that point in time, Simon obviously is a little bit in front of you, but you're still in the driver's seat of, if I play well on these last couple holes, I have a chance of winning this tournament versus Calvin. What's going through your head there? What happened first off with the shot?
Yeah, exactly. I felt like I was in the driver's seat. Like, you know, the wind's down. This is 2 chip sidearms. This shouldn't be hard at all. And I think I got a little lazy on the shot, and it kind of came out nose up, and it actually slipped off my fingers a little bit, and it carried OB. And I couldn't believe it. It's like the easiest little pitch 300-foot Raptor shot you could ever imagine with no wind. And yeah, it just got away from me, and it went OB, and I was like, there goes the tournament. I thought I lost right there. I was like, you can't give up that stroke on such an easy hole in that moment. And yeah, I was really frustrated. I was like, man, that's not what you had to do there.
Yeah, because obviously hole 16, again, Paul at this point is kind of slipping out of it. And then we see Calvin also make a huge mistake. Did that all of a sudden kind of spark you when he threw his upshot into that tree of like, wait a second, I might not be dead?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I think it was Toro or whatever. He came in and hit that tree, and I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I thought that tree was at like 35 to 40 feet. And then I got up there, I was like, oh, that tree's at like 60.
Yeah,
I was
super
like, okay,
far out. Yeah.
but you know, the chances of him making this are relatively low. And I shouldn't even say that. He played a pretty good all tournament, but you know, in that moment, it's not a gimme by any means. And
For sure.
yeah, I just wanted to capitalize on the upshot, threw my Raptor in the bullseye, and felt good.
And I think, I mean, we're talking difficult shots. Obviously, hole 7 is up there for sure, but hole 17, I don't think the camera really does the justice on some of these upshots on hole 17. So walk us through exactly why that shot is super challenging. Because I think on live they talked about it a little bit. Big Germ, I think, was trying to talk about how difficult that shot was, but I mean, you guys with Jomez, it does kind of go quick, so you can't really like hold on to a shot for too long.
Oh, we're talking about the second shot on hole 17?
The second shot on hole 17, yes. I think a lot of people look at that and go, oh, it's a pretty good shot, but they don't really realize how challenging of a shot that is.
It's a weird hole because it's kind of like a wind tunnel, and there was a little breeze at the time, and you never really know when your Raptor or your sidearm over that water is going to lift or slam. I've thrown it over that water 1,000 times. It is slammed. It is lifted. It's done whatever it wants. I was pinched. I threw my tee shot into a pretty safe spot, and I had the low-hanging branches.
That branch is brutal.
Down. And my only options were go below them and throw it super low and hope to God it skips. It's probably gonna hit the ground and flare skip. Like the odds of it getting anywhere in the circle is very low. Or I could swing it out real wide and throw a flippier Raptor and kind of pop it up and use the glide to swing it back. And yeah, that's just what I did. I was like, this is what has to happen. This is the only shot that's gonna land soft enough to stay in the circle. And yeah, it was a little low out of my hand. It looked low the whole way, and it took a slight lift, and it barely hit land and skipped and hit the koozie, and luckily sat. But yeah, it's a super tough hole. It's a super tough shot. It's just you never really know. You never really know when you're going to swing it over that water and what it's going to do. Yeah, it's kind of a coin toss.
Yuli, this is you talk about having like those obstacles, like the man-made obstacles, to force different shot shapes. Like that tree is a tree that I think we would love to be able to pick up and move into different fairways, because if when that limb goes down, hopefully it doesn't, but it might with the storms that we get down here in Texas. If that limb ever goes down, that hole becomes exponentially easier, because now you just throw a high spike hyzer, overstable. The tricky thing about that shot is, like you were saying, you have to throw it low, so you're almost throwing it down, but you're hoping it doesn't just continue to go down. You're hoping it somehow starts lifting at the end. And then, like you said, the OB on the right side of the basket now makes that shot so challenging to not get that big flare skip over. So I love it.
It forces you to throw it low, and then you skip out of bounds long right. And
True.
I think the proper shot that you have to throw there, which nobody wants to do, is play it to 40 feet right, short of all the OB, and then you have like the toughest putt you've ever had, because typically super windy, and you can get to that spot almost every time with not really bringing the water into play, not really bringing in the OB into play, but then you're left with that. I think people get greedy and really try to pin it, and that's what we saw the whole weekend. People hitting right by the bucket. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that looks good. Them turning around, and then all of a sudden red flag, and they're like, "Wait, what? I threw
Yep.
that perfect." You know what I mean? It's a great hole.
Love it.
I also think that tree that we were just talking about has really grown in the last few years, because I don't remember that whole tree affecting my placement in that fairway as much as it did this year in all my practice rounds. Every shot I threw up onto that top to eventually go to the pin seemed to be like a little, little pinched, a little. The tree
Yeah,
seemed to be in the way a little bit more this year.
You almost want to be like short
Those
right
limbs
of
are
the
hanging
tree.
down. Yeah, or you want to get like kind of past it on the downslope, which is pretty hard. That means
it's scary too.
It's hard to get there, and sometimes you get down that downslope and it can roll on down to that boat down to the boat ramp. Exactly. Yeah. So,
all right. So where were you at when you make your putt on 17? It's that nice long walk up to 18's tee. When you're walking up 8 to 18's tee, where's Simon at this point? And do you know it's between you and him? Obviously, Calvin kind of was out of it after 17.
Yeah, so we're walking to hole 18, and Simon was putting from about 22, 25 feet from what it looked like across the pond.
He already thrown. Okay.
Yeah, he already threw, and he threw it close, and we obviously expect him to make the putt, and he did. So I got to watch him make the putt, so I just knew, okay, lock in. You got to birdie the hole. You birdie the hole, you win the tournament.
Yeah, no shot of ever thinking about laying up or playing safe to try to play for a playoff?
No. I wanted to end it right there.
Same with here's a good question. What distance would you have laid up at for that putt?
The winning putt?
The winning putt. At what point would you have said, this is too far for me to run it? I have a better shot at laying up and just trying to win in a playoff.
Honestly, not many more feet past what it was.
Really? You were like max distance.
It was like right at 37, 38 feet. And it was like, yeah, if it was 42 to 45, I don't know. Maybe, but it's tough because it's like, I don't really want to step putt in that situation because it's easy to float it. And it would end up in the water potentially. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe like 5 feet further back and I was laying it up. Potentially, I don't know. It's hard to say. I
think, Yuli, too, one of the reasons why we love WACO so much is because you get the chance of having putts like that on that green. Because what if that was just how many holes do we play on 18 where there's like no OB or trouble around the basket? That putt all of a sudden loses a lot more because if Adam misses it, it's like, oh, okay, we're going to a playoff. So there is a little bit of that, ooh, is he going to make it to win? But here, Adam, a couple more pump fakes than normal on that putt, took a little more breaths because it's like I'm either winning or I'm losing. Like that's the thought there is no thought of like this is going to go to a playoff if I miss, which makes it so much more dramatic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the pump fakes were just kind of just get comfortable, get loose, make sure I'm feeling good, taking extra deep breaths. It was basically just take my full 30 seconds to calm my mind, take deep breaths, and get into a state of mind that is good enough to send the putt. And I took that. I did 3-4 good pump fakes. I took one last deep breath, and it kind of just all the nerves just kind of like went away immediately. And then I went straight into my swing, and I let go of the putt, and my vision actually went blurry. Like this literally happened. My vision went blurry for like a split second, and then I regained, and the thing just hit dead center and just like slammed into the side of the cage. And yeah, I just erupted. It was a crazy moment.
Crazy way to finish it. All right, let's talk about it because everyone wants to talk about it. Round 2, hole 18, the OB situation. I have my take on it. Yuli, I'm sure you have your take, but Adam, walk us through a little bit maybe behind the scenes, what was said, what was going on. Was there any talks about throwing a provisional before you go over there? Kind of walk us through what happened on that.
So I throw the shot, it spikes, right on the OB line. Spotter goes green flag. I think a live camera guy was already like staged up over by my shot, and I'm like yelling across the pond. He goes, "It's safe." Obviously, their opinion doesn't matter. They're like, "Yeah, it's safe. It's safe." We get over there. I have Calvin. He comes up. He looks at it. and he's looking at it. He goes, "Yeah, there's green grass right here. It's close. I have to give, I think it's safe." And then Ezra Robinson comes over, and he's the same exact thing, like safe, too close to call. Chris Dickerson comes over, and he's like kind of questioning like what the line is, because this grass is like kind of long right there, and it's just like a kind of a pathetic OB line.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like kind of on the fence on it. And I was like, "Hey, well, it's on. What's the call here, guys?" And we couldn't come to an agreement. And PJ rule is benefit of the doubt goes to the player, and that's what ultimately was agreed on, and that's what we went with.
So you did well. If you had, if both Ezra and Calvin both said safe, then it didn't really matter what Chris said, anyways.
Yes, basically.
But you're saying no one really, and again, like it's so hard. We get so many of these times where like no one really wants to make a call. So I get it for sure. A couple things I want to say, and then Yuli, tell me what your thoughts are on this. One, a lot of the camera angles I'm seeing in photos and still shots are terrible, absolutely awful, very, very difficult to make any sort of judgment call there. Two, this has happened to me multiple times where either someone's foot or the person paying the line or some grass gets batted down. Stuff has happened where my disc lands in a spot where, yes, if I looked at it and I was like, if someone right now repainted the line, they're probably going to paint it and my disc is going to be OB. But with where my disc is and how it looks right now, my disc is touching grass that doesn't have paint on it.
Yeah.
And people are going to call that in. And if you want to get mad at it, get mad at it. This happens probably all the time. And I think, I don't know, I think a lot of people, my thought is I think because it's Simon, right? I think that's getting a little bit more attention than if it was someone else, right? That was going there for the win. But, I mean, I don't know. Yuli, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's pretty simple. I think a lot of people get it misconstrued that I hear this a lot. Integrity of the line. That's a made up statement. That's not a real thing. It's the line. The line's out. And a painted line has a lot of discrepancies. Like you said, you're painting grass. The grass folds over this way. As soon as the grass folds over this way and there's green right here, the line is over here and it moves. So the integrity of the line doesn't matter. I see that a lot online and stuff. And then, I mean, it's real simple to me. You're playing with your card mates. Two people call it in. One guy says, I don't know. You're in. Benefit goes to the player. It's pretty simple after that.
And for those wondering real quick, Yuli, let me jump in real quick because people get benefit to the player wrong all the time. Benefit of the player literally means if there's a tie. So if you guys, if the only way Adam's disc right there, guys, can be considered out, 3 of the 4 people would have to call it out. If 2 people call it in and the other 2 are like, absolutely not, this is out, because it's a tie, the benefit goes to the player. A lot of people think benefit to the player means, I don't know, man, benefit to the player. No, it's when people make a call and no one can make the majority rule on it. If it's a tie, the benefit goes to the player. That's what benefit goes to the player with. A lot of people have that rule wrong. Yuli, sorry, I just had to jump in and correct people.
No, I appreciate it. And then the last thing is that the camera angles that I'm seeing are just a joke. Like, you cannot have a camera angle from the side view. It's obviously going to give inches sometimes to either the good or the bad view from whatever that camera angle is. The only way to really see is if you have a bird's eye view straight down onto it. And when you do that, a lot of times I've walked up to shots and been like, oh, I'm for sure out. And then I get over the top of it and I'm like, that's a lot closer than I thought. I have to call the group over. And I've gotten good calls because of that, because it looks out. And then when they come over and let's say it's a line, that's also tough because let's say you're leaning this way or this way. A lot of these calls are this freaking close. And when you can't make a decision, that's when typically the group will go, benefit goes to the player. It's too close to call.
And then to just throw it out there too, I was very critical on the Hall and Hanley situation back at women's, whatever they call that, USDGC for women's. I don't know what they call it.
Throw pink.
Throw pink. Thank you. But that's a completely different scenario because that's a scenario that there was multiple people that didn't see whether or not it crossed. And there it's like, it's more on the player themselves to be like, hey, I think it did it cross or didn't cross, right? Like that's a completely different scenario than here you have Ezra walking up, Calvin walking up, looking at it and saying, I see a blade of grass without paint. It looks good to me. Those two scenarios are vastly different from one another. And I think if you could go back in time, maybe throwing a provisional might have been a better play, but you can pick and choose little small things here and there. I just think it gets blown out of proportion a lot of times with some of these ticky-tacky calls like that. So
especially when you have great players on your card competing for the win of the tournament, calling you and being like, okay, I can't make a decision. That means it's close. That means it's probably in bounds. I mean, that's just logic.
I think what we should just learn from this is like OB paint near water is never a good idea because grass can move, dirt can move, all that stuff can move, and now the OB line is basically tainted throughout the tournament. And they're not going out there and probably repainting these lines after every round anyways. So that would be my kind of adjustment in the future. But I just wanted to put that out there, see what you had to say about it, Adam, because obviously there are some people that are going to talk about it. It is what it is. Simon's got a lot of fans. I'm sure a lot of people wanted him to win. It is what it is. But these calls happen all the time on tour. Like all the time.
It doesn't matter what you do. You have string, you have rope, you have logs, you have whatever, you have tape, you have paint. That's going to be close. Yeah, it's inevitable. You're going to have close calls.
Yeah. And if you actually look at it, one of the camera angles I got, which I think was like tweeted out by someone from Jomez or something, if you look at it, underneath, you can actually see grass that doesn't have paint on it. And I've had the same situation of where my disc is covered with paint. There's paint all over it, and I've got grass without paint touching my disc. And I'm like, guys, what are we thinking here? And it's like, yeah, it's in. Because that's how everyone's going to call it. Everyone's going to call it that way. So,
yeah, and at the end of the day, the call comes down to the card, and the card made the call, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that matters in that situation.
I also think it's silly to go back 2 rounds and be like, oh, yeah, this cost Simon the tournament. It's like, no, it didn't. You played a whole entire round after that. Like, you can go back, oh, I missed a 5-footer, on hole 3. Nobody cares about that. But then we go down to a call. Like, there's so many strokes. I think that's silly. I mean, it has really nothing to do with this, but I think that's silly.
Yeah. So it is what it is. All right, let's end it on a high note. Adam, how are we feeling going into Austin before we let you out?
Feeling good. It's been pretty windy for practice, so it's hard to get the lines and the disc to fly kind of pier, but we're making it work. I'm going to get at least one more round on both course tomorrow. Got a press conference, I think, around 1-ish. Yeah, just kind of going to get into rhythm and try to lock in as best as we can. It's a short week. It's hard to play 2 courses, especially a new one that's pretty technical on short notice and play a 4-round tournament. So we're just going to take it one shot at a time, one hole at a time, and just try to pick apart these holes as best as possible.
Sweet. All right, brother. Well, we'll let you go. Appreciate you hopping on here and talking with us,
guys.
And hope to talk to you soon, man.
Appreciate it, boys.
Congratulations, man.
Good luck in Austin.
Thank you.
There you have it, folks. Your WACO champion, Adam, getting it done.
I think too, to add a point, if that were to have happened on his last shot, you have a completely different conversations. That's when probably marshals get involved, and it's going to be a lot different, which didn't happen.
All right, let's bring on the man himself here, Jake Monn. He's been waiting in the wings, and now we get him. I believe we got him. Yes, there he is. Jake, how's it going, brother? Appreciate you jumping on Tour Life.
What's up? How y'all doing?
Doing good. Sorry to have to make you wait there just a little. We had to talk about the controversy going on with the calls over at WACO. But let's talk about no controversy at all. Let's talk about the man shooting 49. This goes back to what me and Yuli were talking about trying to focus a little bit more on the actual scores and not the under par, because your 49 matches exactly to Paul McBeth's course record of 49 that he set back in 2019. Did it a little bit differently. There was a couple holes in there that you birdied and he didn't, and you parred and he didn't. But just talk to me. How did that feel?
Yeah, I think the only difference in our round was if I were playing the same, pars as his layout was, I would have parred 14. He would have parred 11. Other than that, we had the exact same round.
Yeah, hole 11, he got a 3, you got a 2, and then hole 14, he got a 2, you got a 3.
Yeah.
So those 2 holes were the only holes that you guys scored different. So that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and
pretty
then,
identical.
Hole 9. Yeah, hole 9, I missed like a 23-footer for birdie, and then hole 14, I missed like a 40-footer into the cage for birdie.
Oh no!
Could have been 47.
Could have been an insane round.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we wanted you to come on because I think they did a quick little thing during live coverage of you kind of tapping out the final round, but I don't think they really covered it that well. So I wanted to have you come on and talk about it because I mean, again, we haven't seen a score like this in 6 years. Back to 2019. Obviously, the course changed the pars, but the total difference in distance is only 8 feet. So the course is pretty much identical.
That 8 feet is harder because at 18 they moved the basket like closer to the water.
18's tougher, 15's tougher, 16's tougher. So you can say that the course might be playing a little bit tougher now than it was back then. But neither here nor there. Talk to me about the round, though. At what point are you feeling like, holy cow, this is something special?
Yeah, so it was really funny. So back to what you were saying about they didn't really cover it very well. They don't often have cameras on cards that are 3 strokes out of cash.
Sure.
But yeah, my dad called me that morning, and he was talking about, we're talking about what it would be like, what you'd have to shoot to get back into cash and whatnot. And he was like, shooting a 10 would help. Easy way to do that is start 8 through 8. So I made a birdie putt on hole 8 to go 8 through 8. And I was like, all right, there you go, Dad. Let me see if I can get 9. And then I threw 9's tee shot well for the first time all week. Got the forehand down there just past the basket, missed the putt. And then, so yeah, I was after 9 or 8, I was 8 through 8. I think last year I was like, it was 2 years ago because my hand was broken last year. 2 years ago in the last round, I was like 7 through 7 or 8 through 8 or something like that. And then I kind of fell off and finished like 6 or 7. So after I parred 9, I was just like, all right, let's just not go on like a par stretch here. Let's keep it going. So I got 10, got 11, par 12, but 12's a tough get.
Sure.
And then 13, I almost screwed up. I was like 150 feet away and threw it to circle's edge short, made a birdie putt. And then 14 stuffed in the cage, got 15, got 16. And I was like, all right, let's get 2 more. 17, I hit a 40-footer at the water. And then 18, I had the 25-footer for birdie.
Was there any thoughts on going for eagle on any of those par 4s in the back 9?
I tried to go for eagle on 13. I just needed to throw in a little bit more ante, and it did not come out on ante.
And then 15, so 16, a little bit more risky, so not worth it.
Yeah, it was a little. There wasn't much wind, but it was a little gusty, and on those, I think it was a little headwind.
Okay.
And I feel like I throw decently far, but I don't really throw far enough to be like, all right, I want to go for these. Plus, I was working back in the cash, so I was like, these are easy birdie holes. Let's just pick up the birdies and move on.
Did you? Yeah, go ahead.
Let's take it back to hole 9. So you get the 8 for 8, and then you get to 9. You said you missed a 23-footer. What was that? Because you were like, all right, now I go 9 for 9, or was it just like a mishap? Like I want the whole entire story through the round.
Yeah. So on 9, I wasn't really thinking like, oh, I could play a perfect round. I was just like, you're starting off. You're like, okay, I got 6. Oh, I got 7. I got 8. Dang, I ain't missed a hole yet. And then on 9, I threw my shot long of the basket. Like, a lot of people on that upshot, they'll hit that upslope and land like 30 short or something. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to get over the hill, so I put it like 23 long in the shrubs or whatnot. So I was like full straddle out on a knee ante putt at the back. It wasn't an easy putt. I feel like I could have and should have made it, but I wouldn't say it was just like an open 23-footer that I was like, shaking on. But
What about 14? You toss it in the cage, and 17
That
going
was
right
just-
at the water.
14 was just dumb because it was like, so I played with Burridge in that round, and I had been throwing like a zone on that one because we had that head left to right really strong the days before, and I didn't want to throw it in the road. And I went forehand quake on that one, and just kind of held it over too much. Got to like 40 feet left to right, and it was a little uphill. So I was just like, all right, put it above the basket. It'll drop in. I was putting really well, and I just didn't give it any height. Out of my hand, I knew it was a perfect putt just in the center of the cage. And then which one you said? The 40-footer on 17. Yeah. So the 40-footer on 17.
Because you're trying to
I
get into
stepped up to
cash now, and that's a
Yeah.
dangerous putt.
Yeah. Well, at that point, I was thinking like, I don't.
Yeah, are you looking at the score? I was gonna say, are you looking at scores and seeing like you're tied for third because no one's teed off yet?
I don't look at scores.
Because you were tied for third at one point in the tournament.
I did see that. I didn't look up. I think I ended up after 18 tied second. And then it was funny because I finished at like tied second or tied third, and I was like, I wonder if I'll stay inside like the top 25. And
that's where you just gotta take the quick screenshot, and just blast it out
there. Yeah. But yeah, on 17, I stepped up to it. I wanted to make it. And it was one of those where it was like I didn't want to step up to it and like instantly be like, yeah, I'm going to lay this up. I want to get the cash. It was one where I was like, I'm going to step up. If I feel like I'm going to make it, I'm going to putt it. If I don't feel like I'm going to make it, I'm going to lay it up. I stepped up to it, and I was just like, I feel like I'm going to make this. And then I dropped it dead center. And then at that point, I was sitting there thinking about it. I was like, shoot, the only pars I've had today are 9 and 12, which used to be 5s, and 14. I was like, if I get 18, I think I shoot Macbeth's 18. So then I got a little nervy on 18. I was like, all right, just get it over there.
That is great.
What almost went OB long.
What was it like playing with because you, like you said, you were when you started the day, you were in a spot where you probably had to shoot double digits to cash. So you're not playing.
I think it ended up being 11 or 12 to cash.
Okay. So you're playing with people that did not get off to the greatest start, and like what's the chatter like? Is no one talking to you after you're like, you're 8 through 8? Because I'm assuming the people on your card probably weren't also lighting it up either, and shooting close to 15 under par.
So we actually had a great card round 3 because it was weird. Because I feel like what happened with a lot of people around like the 6 under to 10 under range going into round 3, you either shot really bad round 1 and then got back in it with round 2, or the other way around. So, we're all going into it thinking you got to shoot hot. The conditions were calm. People were going to score on day 3.
Yeah.
So it was me, Burridge, Rathbun, and I can't remember the fourth person on the card. It'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, we were vibing.
You had a pretty good crew.
Yeah, it was a fun round. We were just chatting it the whole time. Yeah, we were all. I don't think anybody was really playing bad. Like Bird shot a 9. Okay. Gavin missed a few putts, but he could have been up there.
So there was no.
Can't think of the last person.
Someone in our chat will tell you.
Yeah.
But there was no. There's no like kicker curse of where everyone's like, oh my god, he could tie Paul's course record. That all of a sudden like no one's talking to you for like the walk from 17 to 18, or did it seem pretty
I did feel that a little bit on 17 to 18 because like I thought it, and then I was kind of like Burridge was talking to me about his round walking to 18, and I think he was just trying to like make me not think about what I was doing right there. Yeah. He was like, I feel pretty good about. He was just talking about his round, if it was cash or not. And then after I made the putt, it was kind of like, dude, you did, like everybody knew, I guess.
Yeah. You could tell everyone. People are saying Chandler Kramer.
Yeah, that's who it was. Gosh,
Chandler Kramer. There you go.
No, it was Chandler because he usually when I play with Chandler, we talk a lot, but he was quite quiet in the last round. Yeah. But he was the same way. He was giving himself a lot of looks and just couldn't hit the putts. So everybody was throwing the disc pretty well, and well enough to cash. So we were all good moods, and nobody was crashing out or whatever. But it was good. It was good vibes.
What does the 15 under do for you, like mentally now? Are you like in a place to where you're like, oh my gosh, I found a zone maybe I haven't found before. I could, maybe sneak in there and get me one of these?
It definitely. So I played well at Supreme Flight, and after that, I was like thinking that I was like, I could definitely get me one of these. And then I shot one over round one, and I was like, I don't know how I'm ever gonna win a tournament. This is ridiculous. And then yeah, the last round, I was like, okay, like that's how you do it right there. But it was weird because it was just like I said, good vibes. We were just out there throwing frisbees, and it was just like I wasn't really like too thinking about anything. I was just throwing, making putts, fixing stuff from the previous rounds. And I think what helped a lot was it wasn't freaking windy. The wind
Yeah.
was killing me out there.
Is that the best round you've ever shot?
Ratings wise or just like feeling wise?
No, just like, we don't care about ratings on this show.
Yeah, we don't
For your
talk about
score,
ratings.
You for your score on a course, is that the best you've ever shot?
Yeah, it's either that or in 2022 I shot. I remember what it was. It was anywhere from 10 to 12 at Country Club, and I hit on the island and rolled off, or it would have been course record at Country Club in round 4 at Worlds.
Wow.
So it was probably between those two rounds. But I think that round being tying Macbeth's round made it probably one of the better rounds that I've had. The best round I've had. Yeah.
What do you think the tournament would have been like had it been opposite? So instead of shooting 15 under your final round, you shoot 15 under your first round. I think you would have had a 3-shot lead over Ezra, I believe. Did Ezra shoot 12 or 11 the first day?
I think it was 12.
Was it 12? Yeah. So you'd had a 3-shot lead over Ezra. Like, how do you think your tournament is different? Obviously, placement wise, sure, but like mentally. Because what it sounded like today is like, or what it sounded like during that round is like you guys were just out there throwing frisbees and you were just throwing them really, really well. You do that the first day. Now all of a sudden you're the leader. Everyone's looking at you. You're on lead card. You're probably not going to be able to just go out and throw frisbees and just be chatting with the boys on lead card, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Do you think that is something that maybe needs to you need to maybe figure out a way to make that switch when you get into that position? Because we've seen you shoot incredibly. I mean, that one year at USDGC, you had some really great rounds. Other tournaments, Worlds you mentioned, you've had those really, really great rounds. So what do you think it is for you to maybe be able to do that consistently throughout a tournament?
I kind of figured that out a little bit at Supreme Flight. It's just like not letting yourself, like not in your head, not letting it get away from you in the sense of like round one, exactly what happened was I threw a couple of shots, was a little unconfident, came out of the woods, and I just kind of got like, oh, no matter what I do, I'm just gonna have a 70-footer laying up for par and a headwind or whatnot. Just like being like, okay, just keep throwing them, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be chatting with the boys, to shoot a hot one. It's just staying there mentally and not getting out of it, because I think what I did well on that last round was after hole 9, after I parred, what could have happened was I made a deep circle 1 putt on hole 10 to birdie the next hole after I parred, and I think if I would have parred that, I could have definitely easily slipped into a headspace of
spiraling.
Just going to start and just par a bunch of holes, which out of the beast pars are, you can't par 4 holes in a row and expect to shoot hot unless you just go in like a tear at some point. But above other courses, parring a bunch of holes in a row at the beast at WACO is not fantastic. But yeah, if I were to have shot 15 in round 1, I think that's just another thing that I have to learn, like how to play with it, because you're right, it would be a different feeling of being in the lead. So I think that's just something I need to learn at some point.
Yeah, because there are players out there that you can definitely tell based off of who they play with affects their games. I think I've talked to Gossage about this a lot of times, and we've always talked about him potentially getting a caddy because he's someone that loves to have chatter. He loves to be able to talk as he goes. And I've always been like, listen, people on your card, they're not required to talk to you. They might not even want to. So like being able to have a caddy and have that no matter what is a huge advantage, because now you're not dependent on having a card that wants to talk with you and your game's not going to fluctuate. Do you find that maybe also as trying to figure out a way to make it that no matter who you're playing with, no matter where you are on the leaderboard, that you can still go out there and execute? Is that something that you're trying to work on, I guess?
I think it also plays into like the night before you see your card, and I've played tour long enough to where I know a lot of the people on tour. I've played with pretty much everybody except for like 2 or 3 people. That before the round, you know, if it's going to be like, oh, you know, I get to play with this guy, you know, we can chat it up, or if it's like, okay, I'm going to be kind of in my own space here, and then you can kind of prepare for that before the round. But yeah, I kind of vibe with everybody. It just kind of depends on if they're, you know, if they're shooting a bad round, obviously we're not going to be talking.
Yeah.
And I've over the past few years, especially last year, this year, I've become able to be like in my own little space and be happy just by myself, not talking to anybody, just, you know, just with what's going on inside my head.
Love that. Well, fantastic round. I'm glad we were able to come on here and chat with you. I mean, again, it's crazy because I think one of the last times I saw you was last year and you're like putting left-handed because your right hand was broken. So being able to recover from, you know, not being able to throw for a while to going out and having one of the best rounds, if not the best round of the season so far. That's awesome, man. And we continue to root for you. And I'm looking for the tournament that you put it all together, because I think it's just a light switch. Yuli, would you say so? Right, like with these young kids, it's like they just got to get that light switch, and once it is, it's like watch out, game over.
Absolutely. I think one of the rarest things that we see right now is the most important thing to win these big tournaments is you got to get a bunch in a row. And on these courses, that's really tough. And so the fact that he can get out there and get a bunch in a row and then keep birdieing, he's got what it takes. And it's just going to, I think he said it perfectly, which is a really mature statement of saying, no, I just got to get there and learn.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people are like, no, I'm going to get there and I'm going to do it. And that's like a dangerous thought to have, because then your feelings, you're like, wait, why do I feel like this? This is wild.
Why can't I feel my arms?
Yeah, exactly. And then the wheels kind of come off and the round doesn't come to you. So I think he's in a good headspace. And the fact that he can get on a streak like that, have those hot rounds and had multiple of them, just a matter of time.
You got anything to promote, Jake? You got anything going on right now?
Our DGA Tour Series discs are coming out. I don't know when. They're coming out soon. I got to check them out last week. They're absolutely fire. So whenever they come out, check them out. And then, yeah, I guess I'll just shout out my sponsors, DGA, Another Round, and Drive Bags.
Love it. And I got to ask, your first time on tour life, got to ask, do you have any pet peeves in disc golf? Anything that really grinds your gears, gets under your skin, something that you just can't stand?
Yeah. I can't stand it when people come off the course and they just play victim to the course. Like they're like, oh,
Ooh.
I would have shot a good round, but I just kept getting unlucky. Or if this tree didn't, it's so annoying to me, because it's like, dude, you're gonna get unlucky. You're gonna get lucky. They balance themselves out. Like, just quit complaining. Go practice. Go get better. Come back. Try it again.
There's definitely a few people that I know, when I see them walking in my direction after a round, I quickly change my path, because I know what's coming, and I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I played terrible. I need to practice. Do not talk to me, please.
Figure out what you need to work on it, and go play better.
I definitely fell into that category. I think like two years ago, the year before that, where I was just an absolute monster. I was like, I'm the most unlucky person in the world. No, you wouldn't believe what happened to me. And you're 100% right. I wasn't in the field. I wasn't working on it. The better you are, the luckier you get.
One thing,
go, Jake.
That and one thing, I've been playing a couple of rounds with Joey Buckets, and he's been like, he gets some lucky breaks here and there. We started calling him Joey Breaks.
Ooh.
But one of the things he says is like, if you believe you're going to get lucky, you're probably more often than not going to get lucky than unlucky. Like if you're sitting there just thinking, "Oh, I'm going to get unlucky," you'll probably get unlucky. Or the slightest things you'll view as like, "Oh, that's super unlucky." But if you're just sitting there like you throw a shot and you're just like, "Wow, well, that's going to go through," or like, "Oh, hit that tree and kick in the back," just something like you'll probably get lucky. So you basically just manifest it, like manifest getting lucky.
I've always said too is if I shank 10 shots, more often than not, I'm going to get unlucky because that's just how it is. So the more times you throw bad shots, the more times you're going to get unlucky and you're going to feel like you got super unlucky versus the one person that threw one bad shot the whole round and got lucky. You're in your head, this guy's so lucky. Don't shank so many shots. I mean, that's
better shots.
Throw better shots. That's why the good players seem to be always luckier, is because they just don't throw that many bad shots. They don't give themselves that many opportunities to be unlucky.
One of the things
one of
that
my
I
favorites
changed,
is
just real quick, it's a hilarious story. Is I would always get twizzed. Like my disc is high in the limbs, I'm getting limbed straight down, straight left, just the tiniest little thing. And I finally figured it out. I have to throw it higher to get more distance because I don't throw it far. And so literally last year, I started being like, well, I'm just going to throw like 40 feet shorter than I normally would and keep it low. And I don't get twizzed anymore. So it's like, of course I'm going to get unlucky if I'm throwing it up in the limbs all the time. So go ahead, Jake.
No, one of my favorite things is on the putting green because like like on a veteran basket, for instance, if you righty putt, you push it right, it'll fall out. That's just a miss on a veteran. A lot of people will be like, come after their round, be like, "Oh, I got 3 spit outs around." I'm like, okay, did you get a spit out or did it just fall out? And one of my dad says my favorite thing ever. We started saying this within my family. We just say, "Good putts go in." So you get a spit out, wasn't a good putt. If you chain out, wasn't a good putt. If you catch like the weirdest, like hit the front nubs, fall in, good putt. Good putts go in. It's end of the day, good putts go in.
Yeah, the only times I think it's only been Isaac too that I've seen a lot on coverage is when his disc hits and goes vertical and then goes out the back.
Putt.
Like, yeah,
good putts go in.
Terrible putt, man. Terrible putt. You got to get better.
Put it more center. Put it more center.
All right, brother. Well, we appreciate it. We'll let you go. Oh, yeah.
I got my question.
Oh, yeah. Go, Yuli.
Out of all the players on tour, who do you look at and they have a part of their game that you just look at it and you go, man, that's nice. I wish I kind of had a little of that.
It's got to be somebody's forehand because my forehand lacks a little bit. But as to who, I don't know because I kind of wish it was a combination of a few people's like AB's power. Like AB's power. I love the way that Joey's bucket sidearm comes out. It's so clean. He's got nice touch with it too. Nobody else is coming on my mind. But yeah, like if I had AB's power sidearm, that would make my life so much easier. Or Goose's too, for that matter.
Yeah.
Anybody with a power sidearm, that would be fantastic.
You give somebody AB's power with bucket's touch. That's a dangerous combination right there.
Yeah, it's a fantastic forehand. I want it. Give it to me.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for popping on, and hopefully we get to talk to you soon. Go out and get it done.
That would be awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
All right, good luck, brother.
Thanks.
Jake Monn, course record holder, I guess is the terminology that we're giving it.
It would be new course
because I guess the course has changed. So pretty impressive stuff, man. And like I said, like a lot of these people, you kind of don't really realize how young they are. The cat's young, so he's got plenty of time to figure it out, and he's got all the skills.
I misspoke. It's the same freaking course because we're thinking about the score 49-49.
It's different because there is OB, so I guess you could consider it a new course record.
Yeah, but you get what I mean. Like you go play a traditional golf course, pins are different. It's still 60.
I agree. I agree, man.
Okay.
It's impressive stuff. All right, let's roll through a couple more topics here. Got a couple big topics actually still that we got to talk about. First thing that I want to say though is just a couple like highlights that I saw. Hole 1, Yuli, you had 3 guys which we're going to see probably a lot this season. Discraft guys on lead card. You had Paul, Adam, and AB. All three of them throwing different shots on that hole. You had Paul going up the middle backhand Luna. You had Adam going up the middle forehand zone. You had AB going over the top Spikeheiser Venom, which I think is just a cool thing to see because we're so used to just seeing everyone throw the same shots. I don't know. I think when the round started, I just thought that was so interesting. All of them could have thrown the same exact disc, the same exact shot. They've all go something different because of their specialty and what suits their eye, suits their game. So I thought that was kind of cool. WACO kind of does that, allows you to kind of get away with throwing the shots that suit your eye the best. Couple other highlights from the final round. I think, we saw for a moment Paul taking the lead on hole 10. And usually when that happens, back nine, final day, it's over, right? Like usually when he grabs the lead, it's over. But I think we're starting to see a little bit of when you have so many guys that are in contention, it's not so much because like going through Adam's round, it was like, I'm trying to beat these guys. Now I'm trying to beat these guys. Now I'm trying to beat these guys. It's not so much just, I just got to beat this guy, right? And so I think that's what we're starting to see a little bit as, the tour continues to grow is just how many players can win any given final round. One thing I do want to go ahead, Yuli.
I would say, honestly, my honest opinion was that he got nervous down the stretch. I think because it's hard for me to think players of that caliber going through the front nine. So you look at the other players and they have hiccups here and there.
Yep.
Macbeth really didn't. He played very well on the front nine. And so it's hard when you're at that level of those guys are all monsters. And you go into the back nine, the only thing that's going to change is nerves. And I think because he hasn't won in a long time, I think I saw that for the first time. Because he started missing putts he never would miss, and that he was making on the front nine. So it's like a light switch. The only thing that switches when you're on fire and you're playing on a lead card and you're killing it is when the nerves get to you, and then you can leak shots, and everybody does. But that's something that I saw, and I think you saw on the whole entire lead card. It wasn't just him, but he had control of the tournament, and you saw it happened, and then Calvin later on down the stretch.
It was a pretty loose shot on 17. Yep.
Pretty loose shot. You saw it happen on Adam on 14 when it 15 yes,
yep.
15 coming out early and going over. You saw it happen to AB on a couple shots, a short up shot. He makes the 40-footer. And so that's what I would say. I'd say he's really close, but as soon as he gets over that part, because it's been a long time since he's won, then we're gonna see him. Old Macbeth.
Talking about the old Macbeth, I want to talk about this because something that, his fans and a lot of people would talk about all the time was, hey, he only cares about winning. He doesn't care about getting second. He doesn't care about getting third. If he has a chance to win, if he has a chance to run a shot from 200 feet to win, right, he's going to do it even if it's going to drop him down 5 spots. We didn't see that in this final round. Because if you go back and look at what happened, he bogeys hole 13, right? He pars 14, which is everyone else birdies that hole basically. So right there, he's losing shots to the card. This Macbeth that people talk about would have gone for it on 15, would have gone for it on 16, because had he eagled 15, Yuli, had he eagled, again, there's a lot of ifs, but just hear me out. Had he eagled 15, had he eagled 16, had he birdied 17 instead of bogeying 17, he would have shot 31 under par and won the tournament. The tournament was in his hands. It wasn't like he needed Adam to mess up or not mess up. The tournament was in his hands down that stretch. And he lays up 15. He lays up 16. And it makes you wonder, is there now a switch that's different in his head that is thinking, hey, a top 10 might be nice here. Let me go for that.
I don't know. I think I think we have time to figure that out, and maybe it is. But when I also think of those holes, look what happened to Calvin. Look what happened to Adam. Look what happened to AB. Down the stretch, they all made some pretty big mistakes. And Simon was actually the only one to really capitalize besides Adam. Simon was the one that put the pressure on.
Sure.
And so if he birdies all of these holes, obviously he parts some of them, but let's say he goes birdie, 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 birdie all the way down the stretch. What does he lose by 2?
Yeah, but that's to me the big thing that's jumping out is one, it's I'm putting the turn in my hands, and the other one is I'm hoping others fail. And I feel like old Macbeth would be like, I'm never playing in hopes that other people around me are going to mess up. Old Macbeth would go out and try to take it, right? And so I'm just saying maybe that's a little bit of a shift now. And again, obviously, 13 wasn't a great drive. 14 wasn't a great drive. You probably don't have the most confidence going into 15, which is a really hard shot. But again, to me, I just thought that was very telling to see him kind of give up on the chance to win when he still had a chance to win. He had to eagle at least one of those two. He had to eagle at least one of those two holes, right? So, and back when Colton won, he eagled 2 of those holes.
There's factors that go in there. I mean, he obviously is trying to eagle 13 out of the woods.
Of course.
Completely shanks it, goes out of bounds. That's the same exact shot going into those other holes that you have to try to throw. So, like I said, I want more information. I want more time.
Of course.
To know, but definitely something to keep an eye on.
Other things. Nico might be better at disc golf left-handed than a lot of people.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't think he's injured. As I know, I don't think he's.
He can't throw the sidearm for power. He says he's afraid he's going to hurt it because he's heard it before. I asked him about it.
Okay, so he is doing it because of an injury. Okay.
Yeah, and he's not willing to throw power sidearms anymore.
So he's just going power lefty backhand, and it seems to be working pretty good. I mean, he finished. I think he finished 3rd. Yeah, he finished 3rd. So, I mean, could you imagine trying to throw a lefty backhand on 17 second shot? No, thank you. We see Calvin losing it down the stretch there. I mean, that would have been really exciting to see what would have happened had he not had that blow up on hole 17. I mean, I think he makes the right play there. You got to try to go over the top and make birdie. Some people are saying he should have thrown a thumber. Okay, sure, whatever. And then we saw AB throwing his second shot in the water too to kind of knock himself out of it on 17 too. So 17 is just one of those holes that is such a big decider late in the game. All right, let's talk about the spotter getting hit by Ezra. Hole 17, day 1, another situation where spotters are getting into play. This one, I'm going to go a little bit on the side of the spotter. Normally I go on the side of what the heck are we doing? Why is this happening? I'm going on the side of the spotter here, though. The spotter has to be somewhere on that line.
Yep.
They are looking to see whether or not the disc ever crosses back in bounds, whether or not the disc ever hits in bounds. They have to be on that line. They cannot be on the other side of the thing. Now, would it be beneficial to have a D1 athlete or a professional athlete as a spotter that can read the disc coming in and be agile and get out of the way? Sure, but we're paying these people $0. They're going out there, standing in the sun all day, every day for us. And I don't know. This is just one of those things where it's like, I don't know what you could have done differently.
Yeah, you can't do like jump in the water. That was the only thing.
But like you need to have a spotter on that line because like most players aren't going to pick a good spot for where their disc went out of bounds or whatnot.
So I don't think you do. You don't have to have a spotter on the line. What you have to have is a drop zone, and all tee shots that go in the water go in drop zone.
I don't hate that.
And then you don't have to have a spotter on those type of holes. So like I think that
should be
change
the rules
on 18 for sure. I think having a drop zone somewhere would be huge. And then all OBs go to the drop zone. That way, people aren't just throwing it willy nilly wherever they want, getting up and down for the bogey. I think it would make a great finishing stretch to where people who are skipping out of bounds deep on 17, doesn't matter. If you miss that shot, you go to a drop zone.
I don't hate that.
And on 18, if you miss the shot, you go to a drop zone. I think you see more people playing up the left side, a little more decision making happening on both of those holes. And then you don't have to worry about spotters. You don't have to worry about, you're still going to have to worry about out of bounds calls like Adams, of course. And then it's going to be even more important. So
I love Sebastian. He says, I think if she wants to be on the edge, she needs to be farther away from the basket with a more athletic stance. Now it there is a little speculation here, but I'll tell you, I've watched Ezra putt a lot, and I've never seen him miss a basket that low that quickly. You also catch on coverage after he hits the spotter saying, I don't think that should count, just kind of looking like that's weird. So did Ezra lay up on purpose, feeling like he shouldn't get a shot there?
I had this argument on our on Joe Miss, and he's like, I think he did it out of precedence, and I'm like, there's no way. I think he laid it up. Now, did he lay it up because he felt bad for the field? I don't think so. I think he just laid it up. Maybe he wasn't there mentally, but I agree. I haven't seen him lay something up like that ever.
I mean, it was 100%.
Ask him.
It was 100% a layup.
I think I gotta go 95% a layup.
No shot that was a flub. No shot that was a flub.
It's a shot. There's a shot. It was a flub.
I've never seen him throw one before it gets to even the little whatever thing on the basket. Like weird
footing down there on the left. Windy,
all right, do some journalism. Do some journalism.
We gotta ask him.
I think he intentionally laid that up because he felt bad. That's what I'm gonna.
That's a crazy thing to do. All right.
I think he might have. All right. One crazy thing to another. Let's talk about Simon's OB mistake. So hole 15, his disc goes OB, but it ends up sliding, and like the fencing. The fact that a disc can slide underneath the fence and come back in bounds is crazy, but again, it's disc golf. So apparently it ends up sliding back underneath the fence is inbounds. The spotter doesn't mention anything, doesn't wave anything. Simon talks about this in his vlog of how the spotter never said inbounds, never says out of bounds. So he ends up playing it as if it was out of bounds. Turns out never was out of bounds. And these are actually some new rules. So 801.02 enforcement and 801.03 appeals. Automatic provisional from spotter's call. This establishes that a player's throw from a lie determined by a spotter's call is automatically a provisional throw. This will allow improve in pace of play and ensure players aren't disadvantaged by any correct spotter call. 801.03D says if upon arriving at the thrown disc, the group determines a tournament spotter's ruling was incorrect, the player continues play from a lie based on the ruling of the group. The sequence of throws based on the spotter's incorrect signal is disregarded. A player may appeal the group's ruling and continue the original sequence with a provisional sequence of throws. So basically, spotter says you're OB. You throw from where you think you should throw them from OB. You get up there. Oh, snap, guys. I'm actually in bounds. No penalty, no misplay.
You're good to go.
You play from there. The problem with this is the spotter never said OB.
Didn't say anything.
So you can't use that rule. It is a misplay by Simon, and he gets stroked. And obviously, yes, looking at it, does that suck because he ends up losing by one? Of course. But at the end of the day, you can go back and look at all sorts of things that happened in Adam's round that was like, oh, this stroke, right? You can do that with anyone's round. But just one of those things where hopefully everyone knows the rules now. Hopefully everyone plays provisionals too, moving forward when it is 50-50 like that. Other weird thing with Simon, he ends up slipping off of the tee pad on hole 18. Nasty. Looks really, really bad.
Brutal.
They got him level out hole 18 because that is a dangerous tee pad there. And Kevin Jones was on the card.
Oh my God.
So he does the same Kevin Jones slip with like the knee and everything, and Kevin Jones is on the card as well. That's just a wild.
Doesn't he park it too?
Yes, I think he birdied it. I think he birdied that hole all 3 rounds, I believe.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, he does a Kevin Jones impression right in front of Kevin Jones. Really crazy. But thankfully he's all healthy, nothing wrong. But man, that could have been nasty. Let's get these tee pads safe. All right, FPO. Krista Tatar, Yuli, wins again. 3 in a row for her. Looking at this FPO, I think Holland Hanley has been really consistent this season so far. I think she's top 3 at both events. Rebecca Cox, shout out to Rebecca Cox. She shot the course record as well. 11 under, which is nutty, which actually ended up jumping her into the top 10. But the real story here is just how crazy putting can really affect you, because Henna can't putt either. Evelina and Henna, 2 of the best off the tee. Both of them can't putt. And for them to win a tournament, they're going to need Kristen to play terribly. And they're going to need a course that requires so much distance off the tee that like putting doesn't matter. Henna 5 putted a hole. She missed 18 putts inside of the circle over the course of 3 rounds, and she went 0 for 11 from C2.
Yeah, you have to get better. You have to, or you have to start laying them up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't know.
You got to start laying them up. I mean, here's the thing:
you can't let Kristen know that the person chasing her down can't putt. Like you can't have that.
I agree, but there comes a point where turbo putts,
Scoobers, just
whatever it is, I don't care what it is. There has to come a point where these 2 are so good at throwing the disc.
So good.
But they give inside a short distance. They give so many back to the field, not just by missing, but by missing multiple times in a row in the circle. And you just can't do it, because there's got to be a point or a distance to where once you get to that distance, that's under the basket, because eventually you're going to save yourself more strokes over the long haul. And it's a scoring game. That's what it is. And as much as we don't want to, and nobody wants to see that, nobody wants to see somebody walk up and pitch up a 30-footer. But at this point, if it was me and I hadn't figured it out, I would be laying them up, because they can beat most anybody without making a single putt. And by missing multiple, they're letting other, and then get in position, get in contention. And then all of a sudden, here's how good they are. If you're in contention by laying up, and this is the crazy thing that I'm saying, but it's true. If you're in position by laying up every single putt from 30 to 20, let's say 25 feet, this is a wild thing to say.
Yeah.
But you lay up every single one of those, so you don't lose any strokes. You just don't make any of them. And then you come down the stretch and you're in the final round, start sending them.
Why not?
Why not? You got yourself in contention. Now you're there. I don't know. Is that a wild thought?
No, it's not.
It is, but
it's not crazy.
When it's a scoring game, at some point, this is the easiest way to help them. This is the easiest way I could ever say to somebody to save them strokes on the course.
You got to think.
It really is. There's no practice involved. None.
Yeah.
Throw it to the ground, tap it in, and move along. When you get to 20 feet, go for it. It's a crazy thing, but they're that good at throwing, Brody.
I know,
it's the only time you could ever say this ever in any sport that I've ever seen in my life.
But you got to throw these putts onto the basket, Yuli. You can't throw them to 15 feet you can't throw them to 15 feet. You can't throw them to 10 feet. You got to throw them under the basket.
I promise you, I think they could. They're so good at throwing, they could throw it under the bucket.
I would hope so.
I think they can.
Because you got to think too, if I'm freaking out about a 15-footer, right? My C2 putting is going to be terrible
Yeah, it's not gonna be good.
because I'm terrified of leaving myself a 15-footer. So like that's where like it doubles, right? If you get good at putting inside the circle, your C2 will naturally get better because you'll have the confidence to go for putts, knowing that if you miss, you're still going to make it. Where if you're worried about that, it just can't be good. So I don't
Do
know.
you think I'm gonna ask you an honest question? Do you think if they both laid up, and it's a wild thought, from all the way to 25 feet, let's just say 25 feet, if they laid up every single one of those, do you think they would have a better shot to win tournaments? Or win, not better shot to win, would they win more tournaments?
I'll say this because I don't know 100%, but I'll say I don't think it hurts their chances. I don't think they get
Okay.
worse. I don't know if it betters them. It might almost be a break even because Evelina and Henna will sometimes see them cash in from 30
Sure.
feet and stuff. But like, I don't know if it kind of almost counteracts itself when you
I'm saying a certain
airball
distance too, though.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, at this point, why not? Why not try something different, right? You're just doing the same thing. It's all right. Let's move on. Andrew Presnell, thoughts on payouts. He posted, I believe, on Instagram saying players in last cash spot at WACO averaged 10.25. We love ratings around here, Yuli. Over 3 rounds and earned $118. So before we talk about this, let me just kind of explain how cash and ties and all that works, because I think some people were looking at that. The top 44 people made cash at this event. There were 6 people that were tied for 43rd. So that means of those 6 people, they split the money that the 43rd spot was going to get and the 44th spot was going to get. That's how it works. So it wasn't like 44th was going to get $118. It was because 6 people were in there. 6 people had to split the cash between 43rd and 44. So it's lower than it would have been if there was just a true 44th place and no one was tied.
Right.
But what are your thoughts on this, Yuli? Should last cash be getting more than, let's say $300?
I think last cash needs to be your entry fee, at least. And
I like that.
I would go above that. I would say that if you're entering a tournament and you're cashing, you probably should be making more than your entry fee. I don't know how much more, but I think by gambling that money, there should never be a thing to where you gamble that much money of your entry fee and then you get the same amount back for work you've done for 3 days.
So they almost need to boost it in case like something like this happens, is what you're saying too? Because even if you make
at that point, ties are ties. Like,
okay,
then
so you don't worry about that.
I don't worry about that at all in any way. That's just a thing. Like when I take 7th, of course, I don't get 7th place money. That's always going to trickle down to whatever place that we are. So I don't worry about that. But I do think I don't know what the amount is, maybe double your money. But when you put in an entry fee and you cash, whatever placement that is, I do think that you minimum should get your entry fee back. I mean, it's silly to see sometimes you get like $230 or whatever, and it's like, wait, I cashed and I lost $100. You know what I mean? There has to be, you have to have a lucrative thing for all the spots. Like you should be making more than your entry fee is.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think I wouldn't even be opposed because the way that the payouts currently stand, if there are ties towards the bottom of the payouts, those people are going to make less than their entry fees. So I wouldn't even hate, because just with how the payouts are, right, and the added cashes, it's so 50-50 with a lot of these events that PGA Tour, for example, if they were entry fees on the PGA Tour, you're still getting thousands of dollars for last cash. So it doesn't really matter how many ties there are. I wouldn't hate if the Disc Golf Pro Tour implemented something of where it's like last cash, like you said, no matter what, even if there are ties, maybe they have a pot of money for other stuff and they implement that pot of money. So that way 40, I don't know what 42nd place got. Let's say 42nd place got $400. Let's make sure that, tied for 43rd goes home with 300 or whatever, right? You might have to throw a little bit more money to make sure all those people got 300, but I wouldn't hate that, because I could still seeing like courses with ties, you get crushed.
I don't think that would work very well, because then like people who tie for 10th, you're getting less money than those, like your favorite.
No, it would just be the bottom people. You would have like an extra pile of cash outside of the tournament that you can implement in, just for the ties at the bottom, not for ties at the top.
No, I know. But how is that fair to get extra money to people who played worse than other people? I don't necessarily like that.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, if you got 43rd place and no one else got 43rd and you just got 43rd place, you got $400. If you got 44th place by yourself and no one else got 44th, you would take home $350. But if 10 people got 44th, then all of you would take home $35, and 43rd would still take home $400. So all I'm saying is, like, I think those 10 people shouldn't just be going home with $35.
I hear you. Maybe they should all get exactly what the tie is. But what I'm saying is like, I get that and it makes a lot of sense. But then people who tie for 10th should just get whatever 10th place was. Because that trickles down too, and you make less money. You see what I'm having a problem with? Like, if I take 10th place and it's $2,000, and I get it by myself, I get $2,000. But if I tie with 6 people, I get $1,600. And so why do I not get favoritism for beating these guys down here who also tie at the bottom, but then they get an influx in cash?
Yeah, the only thing is, my way would just be, it's a precedent set that no matter what, if you cash, you make more than your entry fee. That would just be the precedent that you would be set, and so you would have this extra slush fund to make sure that even if there was ties, that no one's walking away a loser
with less money.
I just cashed and I lost $300. That sucks. Right. It's like, well, too bad.
I think I got last cash here last year, and it was like $39.
So many ties. There's just so many ties.
$49 or something.
All right, let's talk about our pick'em. Yuli, we absolutely dominated the first pick'em. We were looking really good too. Also with Silva finishing in 13th and Paul finishing in 11th. However, they also did pick Silva and Paul, so our points would have washed. Thank you. But we are 43 points after WACO. Grip locked 7.3 points. We got 25 points for Kristen's first place, and we got 18 points for Simon's second place. So we need to come up with our picks for this week. So let's make this easy, because Edwin's here listening. Let's make this easy. Let's go FPO first. We're going Kristen.
For sure. Without a doubt.
We're locking.
I don't care if it takes from our MPO money. We're taking Kristen.
We're locking in Kristen. Now we need we have a tier 2 or tier 3 and a tier 1. Tier 2, Haley King, Rebecca Cox.
Who else?
Silva. It looks like Val, Emily Weatherman, Eliezra, and Macy. Ooh, Macy.
Haley.
I like Haley too on these courses.
Haley. Sidearm backhand combo, got to do it.
Mad Dog says you shouldn't be able to pick the same players. Sorry, Mad Dog. All right, so we're going Haley, we're going Kristen, and then let's go Lucky. Let's go Lucky for a $1 spot.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. MPO. How are we feeling? Do we want to go top heavy this time, or do we want to spread the love on a course that
This is gonna be a wild one. Two completely different courses. One you're gonna need a little distance, and one you need none. None. I don't think I throw a shot. I might throw one 400-foot shot at the new course.
I think we got to lock in Simon for $2. That makes no sense that he's a $2 player.
Lock him in.
Okay, we're locked in with Simon at 2. I think that gives us now the ability to go. We can go $7, which is AB, Ricky, or Gannon. And then we would have to do $1 after that. Or we could do two $4 guys.
We got for $4.
Ezra Robinson, Nicholas, who won this tournament, obviously different courses. Chris Dickerson, Kyle Klein, Calvin. Oh, I don't hate Calvin this week. He might be pissed off from last week.
Let's go Calvin. Wait, but then we can't get a big dog.
If we go Calvin, we can't go Gannon, Ricky, or AB. If we know one of those, if we feel strong about one of those three guys, we should pick one of those three guys and then do
Gannon.
Okay, so we'll go Gannon, Simon, and then our $1 player. Yuli, I like you or Gavin Rathbun.
I'm down.
You're in it?
I feel good about the second course is a little skeptic, but yeah, I feel really good on the short technical.
I think you can
course.
top 10 here. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's go Yuli top 10. There, lock it in, Edwin.
I like it.
Lock it in.
And then I'm lucky because I got Simon backing me up, and I got
Gannon.
Gannon.
Yeah. All right. Lock us in for that, Edwin. Lock us in. All right. A couple more things here. Listener questions. We'll roll through these real fast. Listener questions. Do you think you would still be motivated? I think this is directed towards me. Do you think you still would be motivated to tour and grind if you were more embraced by the community? No. The way people feel about me has nothing to do with my involvement with something. People hated me in Ultimate Frisbee because I played a certain way. I wanted referees. I didn't like spirit fingers. Did not stop me from playing Ultimate Frisbee. My knees blowing out did. So
I got a question for you though.
Yeah.
What if we were playing for millions?
No, man. I've walked away from 6-figure deals.
Yeah.
The money doesn't do it for me either. Like obviously
you don't think it would bring the competitive nature back because there's a little something extra on the line and because you're playing and you're feeling a little different. You know what I mean? It
would for sure. Yeah, it would make it better than what it is. Yeah, for sure. But I'm
not saying that money's going to change your life, but
I don't
think like for me, for example, playing for $1 million, the feelings,
yes,
like the work that has to be put in, it's a different level of commitment and all that stuff.
Yes,
and
yes,
I think you and I are a little similar in that aspect of I enjoy getting better a lot of times more than I enjoy really playing.
Yes. No, I agree with you there. Like it definitely would change things for sure, but I think I would ultimately still get to the end. I mean, there's been multiple things. You look at Good, for example, who is a multi-million-dollar business now. Bro 5 was what Good is now. I could have easily kept that going, but there was things going on that I did not want to be a part of. And I knew, hey, I could make a lot of money if I just let these things slide and just deal with it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I have values, I have morals that I stand on. Those are going to always be better for me to follow those paths. And it's the same thing with disc golf. I've always preached, do what you love, follow your passions, no matter what the price is. And I would be doing a disservice if all of a sudden disc golf had millions of dollars up for grabs. And I'm like, oh, never mind, I'm back in. So yeah, I think it would change. It would definitely maybe knock out some of the riffraff that we deal with. That isn't great, but I don't think it changes too much. Is Paul, I think this is Macbeth. Sorry, Paul, but is Paul Macbeth going to win a tournament this year, or has he slowed down and the rest of the MPO field caught up with him? What do you think? You think he's going to win?
I don't think I've ever been more sure that he's going to win. And the reason why is if we go back however many rounds, he's on lead card every single time. And when somebody does that, I don't care who it is at that level, eventually you come through and you win. And he's been in the mix ever since last year, almost every single tournament.
I'm gonna say he doesn't win this year.
All right.
I'm gonna say he gets close a couple more times. I don't think he's gonna win. Could obviously change. I think it's tough. It's tough. I mean, he could also. The thing is would I be shocked if he went out and won 5 times this year? No. So
Right.
I just think that the odds are more in the favor of not winning versus winning. Is there a course on tour, past or present, you can remember no one or very little people complaining about? Is there a way to appease everyone? And are the complaints because players don't want to learn a different style of play?
Des Moines. I don't hear a lot of people complaining about Des Moines, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that gets a lot of praise. Other than that, no. I think that that's like for some
Maple
reason
Hill.
Maple Hill, but I mean I complain about that place, so I
Yeah.
can't put that in.
There's so many people that love Maple Hill that I think it you don't hear the complaints as heavily. But yeah,
I think Vermont gets a lot of flowers.
Yep, for sure. On the weekends, most disc golfers are playing rather than watching live coverage. Would it make sense to have a Pro Tour tournament from Monday to Wednesday and have a delayed live broadcast in the evenings?
No. But I would say this. I think it could be cool to have like a play-by-play, like a radio, to where you could be playing with your boys and have it maybe
Ooh,
on the radio. You know what
okay,
I mean?
okay.
Like you can sometimes like I've been playing disc golf and I like the Masters was on and I would have like the play-by-play in my ear while I was playing.
Because it's different for those wondering what he's talking about. Radio coverage for golf is way different. Same with football, same with any sport.
Mhm.
It's way different than the actual TV coverage, commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
And I think
cool.
that could be cool. Yeah.
Who would you have do the radio commentary?
Shoot, somebody with a good radio voice. I don't know. My boy Josh.
There you go. Please talk about how Goose and Ezra hated Waco and Simon loved how Waco was exciting and tight scoring. So what disc golf has right now is it has a massive divide on where professional disc golf courses should go. On one side, you have people like Ezra and Goose that want to make very challenging shots, very risk reward shots, holes that you can birdie, par, bogey, double, triple throughout the course, not just like 1 or 2 holes. And then you've got people like Simon that love shootouts. They want it to be where anyone and everyone can go out and shoot 14, 15 under. And what's going to end up causing is a huge, I mean, at one point, I don't know if I talked about, I can't remember if I said it on this podcast or another, but I think at one point there was like 22 people tied for like 7th or 8th or 9th, something like that. Like an insane
I think
amount
there
of.
was 16 people within 2 shots at one point of the lead.
So just crazy amount of like people stacked up. And you're going to get that at courses that don't have the score separation because everyone is shooting around roughly the same, right? So there's just 2 different styles. I don't know which one's right. I don't know which one's wrong. I have an idea of which one I think would do better, but just 2 different styles. So I don't know.
I think there's a place for both, and I think the place for a course like Waco is a one-stop on the tour, and then I think that the harder, more shot demanding courses should be more of the norm. That would be my opinion.
And I think the difficulty that maybe Goose and Ezra has sometimes too is they're comparing it to like golf courses, and golf courses definitely have different styles. There's link styles. There's Pete Dye, which we just saw at Players, which is heavily like optical illusions with the eyes, a lot of water. So there's definitely different styles, but at the end of the day, you know that you're going to step up and hit driver multiple times. You're going to have to hit wedge shots. And, there's specific shots you're going to have to achieve. And I think sometimes you go on a course like WACO and you're like, I'm throwing 3 full shots and the rest could be putters, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is, but I don't know. We'll see.
And
We'll see.
there's a place for it. Like I said, like a one-off. Now, when you start talking about the bigger ones, the bigger tournaments, there's no place for it. There's no place for a
Be
little
tough to have
dink
like
and
a
dunk.
Worlds at WACO, yeah.
Or a major in general. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, you those tournaments you want to see more of a complete game versus a specialized game.
The closest thing we have is Brewster Ridge, I think, that we played majors on, and that's actually a longer. There's some really tough stretches of that course that are nowhere near like Waco. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. Last thing I have here, spoiler alert. If you have not watched the last foundation video, mute me, turn off the podcast, pause it, and fast forward. Spoiler alert. If you haven't watched the last foundation podcast or foundation video, I'm giving you 5 seconds to click off or mute or whatever because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But I got to tell Yuli this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, spoiler alert's done. Yuli, for the past 2 years, Hunter every month has tried to break 68, which is even par, out at New London. Today was the final attempt because the course is changing, right? They're taking out some holes and all that stuff. The course is changing. Today was his final attempt after doing it for 2 years, and he ends up going out there and shooting 66.
Wow. Congratulations.
Crazy.
And what is that score?
He shot 2 under.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which is really good at New London. Shooting under par at New London is a great score.
What were the hot rounds at Worlds?
Well, they didn't have OB too. They played with OB too, so it definitely plays a little bit tougher. But I think people were shooting a couple of low double digits. I think maybe a couple of people got to.
Okay.
So yeah, super proud of the guy. The only reason that he got an extra shot too was enough people liked his last video, which gave him another chance to do it because his actual final attempt, he didn't do it, but he was like, hey, if we get enough likes, I'll go out and try one more time. And he did it, man. He played really well, really well. The back nine, he just absolutely shredded. So spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it yet, go out and watch it. Great round by him. And New London, no longer. If you're in the area, go play it. I think it changes on Monday. I think they're going to start taking holes out on Monday. So you have a couple more days to play it at its iteration that it is now. But Yuli, do you have anything else for the people? There's a long one tonight, but we had a lot to get over.
I do not. I'm going to post that post on my social media. So head over there and check it out. But other than that, no. Excited for the week. Excited to compete. And now that I got picked, I can't let the team down, baby.
I know. We have a huge head start, so not too much pressure. Don't feel the pressure at all because we got tons of points, and these guys are probably going to pick ridiculous people for this tournament, so I'm not too concerned. But yeah, I don't think we missed anything. But yeah, guys, make sure check out Yuli's. You're gonna post it on Instagram, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
that'll probably be.
Yep.
So make sure you guys head over to Yuli's Instagram on his story. Check that out, and yeah, I think we got everything. Hopefully, crossing fingers, producer in the chair starting next week for us, Yuli, so I don't have a heart attack when it comes to Tuesday. And people, if they didn't know already, I'm not playing Austin. Still can't bend over. Unfortunately, back injuries take a while to heal. It is what it is. But I am losing weight. I'm getting faster. I'm getting in better shape. So that way I don't have as much weight that my back needs to hold up. So I'm still able to work out and stuff like that. I just can't bend over or twist or any of that goodness. So we're going to stay away from that.
Out to watch it all?
No, I think I'm going to be, regardless of whether I'm playing or not. I think I'm going to be at Music City though.
Okay.
So I should be at Music City for that one. Hoping, cross my fingers, my back is good to go for that. But good show, Yuli. Appreciate you,
Yep.
brother. Good luck this week, and we'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. All right. Good show, brother. Appreciate you.